You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not even depressed, at least not in the way you think. You wake up, you go to work, you eat, you scroll, you sleep. From the outside, everything looks fine, but inside, you feel like you're watching your own life through a foggy window. Nothing excites you, nothing scares you, nothing moves you. You've been going through the motions for so long that you forgot what it feels like to actually be alive. And the worst part, you can't explain it. There's no crisis, no tragedy, no obvious reason. Functional freeze. That's what neuroscience calls it, and today, we're going to understand exactly why your nervous system has quietly shut you down, how it happened without you noticing, and most importantly, how to thaw yourself back to life. The opposite of depression is not happiness, it is vitality. By the end of this video, you'll understand a part of yourself that nobody ever explained to you. The living dead. Imagine someone who looks perfectly functional. They show up to work on time, they respond to texts, they pay their bills, but ask them what they're passionate about and they'll stare at you blankly. Ask them what they want from life and they'll change the subject. This is functional freeze, and it is far more common than anyone realizes. You are alive, but you are not living. See, most people think of the freeze response as something dramatic, like a deer caught in headlights, completely paralyzed. But polyvagal theory, developed by Dr. Stephen Porges, reveals something far more subtle. Your autonomic nervous system has three states: ventral vagal, which is safety and connection; sympathetic, which is fight or flight; and dorsal vagal, shut down, which is freeze. When your nervous system detects a threat it cannot fight or flee from, it does something ancient and primitive. It conserves energy, it numbs you, it disconnects you from your own emotions. Numb, disconnected, surviving. And here's what makes functional freeze so insidious: the threat doesn't have to be happening anymore. Your body just never got the signal that it's safe. But what exactly triggers this invisible shutdown? Invisible wounds. Most people hear the word trauma and think of war zones, car accidents, or abuse. But the kind of trauma that causes functional freeze is often far quieter. It's the child who learned that expressing emotions made things worse. It's the teenager who was told to just get over it. It's the adult who grew up in a home where love was conditional, where you had to perform to be accepted. Trauma is not what happens to you. It is what happens inside you as a result of what happens to you. Dr. Gabor Mate calls this developmental trauma, and it doesn't leave visible scars. It rewires your nervous system at a foundational level. When a child experiences chronic stress without a safe adult to regulate with, their dorsal vagal system becomes their default operating mode. Your body learned that feeling nothing was safer than feeling everything. And decades later, that same child, now an adult with a job and responsibilities, wonders why they can't feel joy, can't feel motivation, can't feel anything at all. If this is resonating deep within you right now, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of your psyche with me. Because what comes next explains why this freeze disguises itself so perfectly. The perfect mask. Here's why functional freeze is so dangerous. It looks like success. You're not lying in bed unable to move. You're not crying uncontrollably. You're functioning. And because you're functioning, nobody, including yourself, recognizes that something is deeply wrong. Productive but empty. Think about it, society rewards people who push through, who don't complain, who just handle it, so you become excellent at handling it. You develop routines, systems, habits, not because they bring you joy, but because they keep you moving. It's autopilot dressed up as discipline. You've become so good at performing life that you forgot you're supposed to actually feel it. Dr. Peter Levine, the founder of somatic experiencing therapy, describes this as the body completing a survival strategy that was never resolved. Your system found a way to keep you alive without actually living. And the longer you stay in this state, the more normal it feels. The numbness becomes your comfort zone. You mistake emotional flatness for stability. You mistake disconnection for peace. You mistake survival mode for being okay. But your body knows the truth, even when your mind refuses to see it. Body keeps score. If the mind can lie, the body cannot. And when you're stuck in functional freeze, your body sends signals that something is terribly wrong, but you've been taught to ignore them. Chronic fatigue that no amount of sleep fixes, a constant feeling of heaviness in your chest, digestive problems, brain fog so thick you can barely remember what you did yesterday. 1. Exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. 2. Chronic tension in jaw, neck, shoulders. 3. Brain fog and memory gaps. 4. Feeling detached from your own body. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in his landmark book The Body Keeps the Score, demonstrated that unresolved trauma literally reshapes the brain. The prefrontal cortex, your rational thinking center, goes offline. The amygdala, your alarm system, stays hyperactive even while the dorsal vagal system keeps you numb on the surface. It's like having the fire alarm blaring while every door and window is sealed shut. Your body is screaming for help while simultaneously making sure you can't hear it. The body keeps the score. If the memory of trauma is encoded in the viscera, then recovery must involve the body. And this creates a paradox that traps millions of people without them ever knowing. The motivation trap. This is where most people get it catastrophically wrong. They think the problem is motivation, so they watch motivational videos, they make to-do lists, they set goals and deadlines, and when none of it works, they conclude something devastating. I'm lazy. But here's what you need to understand. Motivation requires emotional fuel. It requires your nervous system to be in a state of safety and engagement, the ventral vagal state. When you're in dorsal vagal freeze, asking yourself to be motivated is like asking a car with no gas to drive faster. No fuel, no motion. The issue was never your willpower. It was never your character. Your nervous system is stuck in an energy conservation mode designed for survival, not for thriving. You cannot think your way out of a nervous system response. This is why affirmations don't work when you're frozen. This is why self-help books feel hollow. This is why you can know exactly what you should do and still find it physically impossible to do it. The solution isn't more discipline. The solution isn't harder goals. The solution is understanding that your nervous system needs something entirely different. And what it needs might surprise you. Safety first. What your nervous system needs isn't another plan. It needs one thing above all else, a signal of safety. Dr. Stephen Porges calls this neurosption, your body's unconscious detection of whether the environment is safe or dangerous. And when you've been in freeze for months or years, your neurosption is fundamentally miscalibrated. Your body is responding to a threat that no longer exists. Think of it like a smoke detector that won't stop beeping long after the fire has been put out. The danger is gone, but your system never got the update. So the first step, and this sounds deceptively simple, is to create micro moments of genuine safety. Not cognitive safety, where you tell yourself everything is fine. Felt safety, not thought. Somatic safety, the kind your body actually believes. A warm drink held in both hands. 5 minutes of slow, deliberate breathing where the exhale is longer than the inhale. Gentle movement, not a punishing workout, but something that tells your body it's safe to exist. Safety is not the absence of threat. It is the presence of connection. These aren't wellness trends. These are neurobiological interventions that speak directly to your vagus nerve, and they work because they bypass the mind entirely. But safety alone isn't enough to fully thaw. Feeling again. Here's something nobody warns you about. When you start to come out of freeze, it doesn't feel good. In fact, it often feels worse, because the emotions your body suppressed to protect you, they are still there. Grief you never processed, anger you never expressed, fear you never acknowledged. They've been stored in your tissues, your muscles, your nervous system, waiting. And when the freeze begins to lift, they surface. This is why so many people unconsciously choose to stay frozen. Feeling nothing feels safer than feeling everything at once. Dr. Peter Levine observed this in animals. After a gazelle escapes a predator, it physically shakes, literally trembling to discharge the survival energy from its body. Humans are the only animals that suppress this discharge. We hold it in, we push it down, we tell ourselves to be strong. And so the energy stays trapped, keeping us frozen. The path back to feeling requires what therapists call titration, exposing yourself to small, manageable doses of sensation and emotion, not diving into the deep end, not forcing a breakthrough. Slow, gentle thawing, just allowing yourself to feel 5% more today than you did yesterday. And there's a specific pattern that reveals whether the thaw has truly begun. Signs of thawing. How do you know the freeze is lifting? It's not what you'd expect. It doesn't start with sudden motivation or a burst of energy. It starts with something much more subtle and much more uncomfortable. 1. Crying for no apparent reason. 2. Sudden waves of irritability. 3. Feeling restless after long numbness. 4. Memories surfacing unexpectedly. 5. Actually noticing your body sensations. These aren't signs that something is going wrong. These are signs that your nervous system is finally coming back online. When you suddenly feel irritable after months of flatness, that's your sympathetic nervous system waking up. When you cry at a commercial, that's emotional capacity returning. When you feel restless and agitated, that's the fight or flight energy that was trapped beneath the freeze, finally trying to move through you. Healing is not about going back to how things were. It is about becoming who you were meant to be. The mistake people make at this stage is trying to shut it down. They feel the discomfort and think, I was better off numb, but numbness was never better. Numbness was never peace. It was just familiar, and familiar is not the same as safe. There's a crucial piece of this puzzle that most people never consider. Co-regulation. You cannot heal in isolation. This is not a motivational platitude, it is a neurobiological fact. Your nervous system was designed to be regulated by other nervous systems. From the moment you were born, your capacity to feel safe depended on another person, a caregiver whose voice, touch, and presence told your body that the world was okay. We are wired for connection, the way we are wired for oxygen. Dr. Porges calls this co-regulation, and it's the single most powerful antidote to chronic freeze. A safe relationship, whether with a therapist, a friend, a partner, or even a pet, sends signals to your vagus nerve that no amount of solo meditation or journaling can replicate. Your nervous system needs to borrow safety from another nervous system. This is why talk therapy works for some people, not because of the insights, but because of the relational safety in the room. This is why a hug from the right person can dissolve tension that years of self-help couldn't touch. And if you grew up without safe co-regulation, if your caregivers were the source of your stress rather than the solution, then your nervous system never learned what safety feels like in the first place. But here's the profound truth that changes everything. Reclaiming life. The most important thing you need to understand about functional freeze is this. It was never a flaw in your character. It was your body's way of keeping you alive. Your nervous system made an intelligent decision. When the world was too much, when the pain was too great, when there was no one safe to turn to, it did the only thing it could. It turned down the volume on everything, and for a while that worked. It got you through, but you're not in survival mode anymore. You survived, now live. The threat has passed, even if your body hasn't realized it yet. And reclaiming your life doesn't require a dramatic transformation. It requires patience with yourself. It requires understanding that healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel everything, and other days the numbness will return. That's normal. That's the thaw. Every small moment of genuine feeling is proof that your nervous system is learning to trust the world again. You don't need to force yourself to feel alive. You need to create the conditions where your body feels safe enough to let you live again. The wound is the place where the light enters you. And slowly, gently, one breath at a time, the freeze will lift. Not because you fought it, but because you finally gave yourself permission to be safe. Functional freeze is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is not a character flaw. It is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect you from a world that once felt unbearable. Not broken, just frozen. But you are not that helpless child anymore. You are not trapped in that overwhelming situation anymore. And the fact that you watched this entire video, the fact that something in these words resonated with a part of you that's been silent for too long, that is already the beginning of the thaw. Awareness is the first and most powerful step toward healing. You don't have to fix everything today. You just have to acknowledge what happened, acknowledge what your body has been carrying, and begin slowly, gently to let yourself feel again. If you made it this far, comment thawing if you recognized yourself in this video. That single word is your first step out of freeze. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our freedom. Welcome to the Psyche Project. If this opened your eyes to something you couldn't name before, hit like and subscribe. Understanding yourself is the work of a lifetime. See you in the next video.